We're on air.
Oh, look at that. Hey, everyone. Different look. Isn't this beautiful? So we got Sav, and we got Moo, and we got Sean, and we're here to expose you to our new podcast. And look at our digs, man. We got a camera over here. We got a camera over there. We got a camera here so that we're going to be able to show you what's going on with stuff like grip, new products. We're really excited about this new situation that we're in.
Today we're going to keep it on the simple side because this is our first time in the studio and we're still figuring everything out.
We're kind of rookies in this place, right?
I'm not a techie kind of gal, and there's a lot of techie stuff in here.
Yeah. Like right there behind you, Sav, there's a big computer screen with a lot of fancy buttons. Mm-hmm. So I'm just glad you're the one over there, and I'm just sitting
I'm
here
counting
in the
on Moo because Moo's pretty good with tech.
I get around okay.
Yeah. Thank God he's
the new generation.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, we've got a list here of
things to chat
about today, and I want to start with our first lesson today. We just started our winter series. And one of our clients who's back for his second year, his name is Alain, there were a few things from last winter. We had him rocking.
Yeah,
like he was like 210 carry on the driver, and we had him carrying 260. Mm-hmm. But then when he got to the golf course, he started getting tight, and that 260 became 225, and he was barely back to, he's almost back to his original gains.
Yeah.
And he was barely benefiting from all of the hard work that we did over last winter.
For sure.
And when he came over midsummer and he did an encore session with me, I quickly realized that his routine was completely out of whack. He was bypassing so many things. And so it really starts with, okay, we got a flight plan. We have an intermediate point. We have a setup that matches the picture. How do we know it matches the picture? Well, when I'm about to let momentum go in that direction, does it feel like the ball will be struck solidly that way? Does it feel like the ball will start in that direction because of my ball position? Does it feel like my arms can swing freely in that direction because my distance to ball is correct? So once you feel comfortable over the ball, and there really isn't any excuse for you not feeling comfortable over the ball, it means that one of those things are out of whack. It means that your setup does not match the picture. And if you go ahead anyways, then you're really asking for it. So then if you don't feel comfortable over the ball, you're going to be tense. And if you've got tension, how are you supposed to start the swings freely?
Yeah, and obviously, first and foremost, before even going into that checkbox, you have to evaluate what kind of shot you want to hit. So an example was we were chatting with Jamie the other day, and he talked about how this year his par threes were great, overall stats were great, his par fives were good, and his par fours were the worst. So oftentimes he would either make a mistake off the tee and not have the right decision, or he would smoke something down the middle, and then it be such a familiar number and club that he just misses a step in terms of evaluating what's behind the green or what's, where all the trouble is kind of thing.
Yep.
And then also the lie.
Yep.
So it's important that you're accountable with not only your routine in terms of setup, but your routine in terms of evaluating the shot properly. And it might sound like a lot now that when we're talking about it like this, but once you get comfortable and familiar with the process of it, it becomes very, very simple. Especially the more you play, the more you're in those situations. Yep. It's not as lengthy as it might sound while we're talking about it here. Yep. But it makes a huge difference. And Jamie, I'll read the text message that he sent us today because he was over the moon after our conversation. Yeah, so he said, physically rehearsed great. Keeping up with a focus or intention scorecard is eye-opening. So we suggested writing it down on a piece of paper. Like, are you staying focused and intentional with every shot? And check yes if you did, and check no if you don't. He said, played 2 rounds, keeping up with it each shot. He shot a 70 and a 67. Round 1 was about 58%. Round 2 was 71. Lots of room for improvement, but an incredible way to quantify your focus. And so quantifying your focus really helps you put in perspective your habits visually, rather than kind of, pardon my language, half-assed. You know what I mean?
Well, here's one particular example for me. I decided on, because I'm having a good time on the golf course, I'm playing really well, hitting some really nice shots. And hole number 15 on the Royal is usually a 1-iron layup for me, right? And I'm hitting the driver so well that day, so I decided I'm going to hit driver on it and get a little closer to the green. So I'm looking up there, and I'm thinking, okay, I see the bunker on the right-hand side of the green. I see the flag where it is. I'm going to start it toward the bunker and let it draw back toward the flag. Then I look up from my last look, and I notice the trees bending to the left. And I'm going, whoa, wait a second. If I try to draw that and the wind's going that way, I'm going to overcook it. I'm going to end up in the left trees, and I don't want that. But I didn't back off, and I just went anyways, and I ended up blocking it into the right trees.
Yeah.
So that was a rookie mistake in the sense that should have been done prior to. Hey, is this the right option? And then you look up and you go, whoa, wait a second, the wind's going that way. So that's not the correct option. The correct option is I'm going to take it toward the flag and fade it toward the bunker and let the wind hold it on the flag.
Yeah, and it's important that you do that, especially in competition, because it's so easy to rush through your routines and your checklist because you just kind of want to get it over with and get to the result kind of thing. And obviously, majority of us want a good result, but if you're rushing through it and not taking your time, then oftentimes that is going to be a bad result.
Yeah. Also, to add to what Jamie was talking about in terms of speeding up his process. I experienced that last time when I played the club champion, where I was anticipating the result too soon, but also, thinking about the future and the past affected my ability to stay within, the checklist, right? So you're rushing everything and wanting to see the result before, and that's what Jamie explained in the call we had with him.
He actually had that rookie mistake that Moo used to have, where, Moo busts one out there 380 in front of the green. He's got 50 yards in, and he thinks, wow, with that major drive, and I'm playing with a member right now, the member must be expecting me to knock it, stiff and make an easy birdie.
Right.
But it's not like that.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
And then if you put that kind of expectation on yourself, then when you're standing over the ball, it's just, you've already ruined the shot.
You're starting to make sure instead of,
That's it.
Staying clear with the target.
Yeah, I think we're obviously all guilty of that ourselves, and I think majority of people have been through the same thing.
That's it.
And it's really just a matter of slowing down. It's just like you try to have to slow down time a little bit.
Like our podcast with Raymond Pryor, he talked about being on time.
Yeah.
Right? So you're not.
And catching yourself in those moments, right? Because it's very easy to get ahead of yourself, and it's so natural to do so. It's a matter of catching yourself when it's happening and resetting.
Yeah, it's like the wedge shot that, Jamie said he busted his drive. He had 130 yards left. He didn't pay attention to the lie, and there was a back left pin with the trouble over the green. He went for the pin, and, when you're feeling good and you're swinging well, you tend to do, stuff like that. But he hit it over the green and made an easy double bogey because now he's really short-sighted himself.
Yeah.
And so,
Which I've done before too.
right? So prior to, you say, okay, wait a second. Where's that trouble? It's over the green. Do I really want to go for that flag stick? And, you're thinking, man, I busted that drive. Man, I gotta follow through with that and get my, get that birdie.
Yeah. And it can also be just like, I busted that drive. I only have a pitching wedge in. Like, that's an easy shot, right? So the second, so when you're super comfortable, like when you're a super experienced player like Jamie and swinging a golf club is second nature to you, like he's an absolute ball striker.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody hit balls like Jamie, apart from you and Moo.
Jamie
But
hits it a little more often than me, though.
yeah. But it can be easy to rely on your talent and your skill because you've been playing the game for so long and it's so natural to you that it's almost easier to forget that little step of just evaluating for an extra 5 seconds what the situation is.
And think about it, had he laid up on the tee box, let's say 3-wood or, his 2-iron, and had 7-iron into the green, he wouldn't have been this bold.
Right.
Probably would have put it in the center of the green, maybe made that putt or have an easy 2-putt and go to the next hole.
Right.
Yeah.
Think about that, right? Just because you have a wedge in your hands doesn't give you carte blanche to go after the flagstick.
No.
And that's part of that evaluation process that you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun talking to Jamie about these kinds of situations because of how good of a player he is, and it really puts into perspective even
It's just like talking to a tour player.
yeah, it's like even the greatest players, like they still have their moments, right?
Yeah.
And it definitely opens your eyes to the fact that we're all human and we're all going to make little mistakes here and there, but it's fun to talk through those situations and really like figure out what the underlying cause was for everything, and it's oftentimes such a simple fix.
Yeah.
And especially that checklist or the focus accountability kind of thing.
Focus accountability is big.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started understanding how to stay with a shot, I'm going, okay, let's see how many shots I stay with today. And the first time I counted, it was below 10. I have 36 full swings, and I stayed with less than 10 only because they were my favorite shots on the golf course.
Right.
So then I started paying attention to it, and I made it up to 15. And I'm going, geez, I still got 21 shots that I'm leaving on the table. And then with a little bit more effort, I get to 21. And I stay at 21 for like a year and a half. Yeah, granted, I play once or twice a week, but still. And then I realized, wait a second. I have to change my behavior. I have to pay attention earlier. Stop talking. Start paying attention to my shots. And then give myself more time to evaluate these situations.
You have to get into your performance bubble a little sooner, especially when you're in competition and there's so many external factors that affect your mindset. It's very important to protect your little performance bubble and get into your own little area of focus, because I remember when I started playing in golf tournaments, I was always so distracted by other people in my group.
Yep.
Whether it was because I'm a fast player, so whether it was somebody playing slow in the group and me feeling like I had to make up time for them and then rushing through everything. And, the second you start focusing on everybody else, about what everyone else is doing that will potentially affect you, then you're like all scrambled. And it's very hard to get yourself back into your little bubble of like, okay, I don't have control over what they're doing. Let me just figure out what I have in front of me. Whatever happens, happens. And you just control what's in your control.
So, if you look at,
I think I'd be close to the camera. Yeah.
okay, so if you look, I got to lean into the mic. It's a rookie. So if we look at Alain, he had said something today while we were working on his pre-shot routine. Moo's been working with him, so Moo gets to work with him on Mondays and Fridays, and I work with him on Wednesdays. The man's dedicated, and so today we were working on his routine, and he says, oh yeah, there's one guy in our group. We got 12 guys that we play on a regular basis every day, and there's a match anywhere between 11 o'clock and 1:30 in the afternoon. And if this guy gets paired up with us, we're always bracing for it because he's going to throw a club or he's going to get mad. He's going to stomp. He's going to break a club over his knee, and so. I'm always struggling with that because I don't know when he's going to blow up, and when he does, it affects me. And so, and I can't wait for you to start working with Alain to give him some important tools to bring him back to the present, and that way, okay, so this just happened. I can't be living there anymore. his tantrum's over with. Now I got to reset. So breathe, whatever, give him
Physical
tools.
touch points can be good too, like grounding techniques. So
Okay.
whether that you kind of come up with your own little like signals. So whether it's like feeling your fingertips rubbing against each other, feeling your feet on the ground, something
Or
to just
breathing.
recenter yourself. Yeah, so breathing and then literal physical touch points can help, but the first step is just understanding that like you don't have control over anybody else's reactions to things. You only have control over your own.
Yeah.
And so as much as it might be distressing to see or frustrating to see, you know that it's expected.
Yeah.
And now you can prepare for it or use strategies that'll help you when the time comes.
That's it.
Or you just say, I don't want to play with you anymore.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's one of the things I gave him as an example is when you went, when you were in a tournament, and it was after COVID. We were on the front nine. Everything was going well, and then there was a crossover. We had to go. We started on the back nine, and then you had a decent back nine.
Yeah.
And then it was an hour wait to get off the first tee because they had made mistakes with their crossovers.
Yeah, they had put in groups of members.
And you had literally lost your mind. How could they do that to us?
Yeah.
What are they doing? And then you're worried that it's going to take too long, and now you gotta. Do I go in for lunch? Do I go to the bathroom? It's like you're going through all these scenarios, and it's exhausting.
Yeah, that was a not so fun day.
Right?
Yeah.
And so now think about the tools that you have, and it's always fun to go back in your mind to use that as an exercise. Okay, what would 2024 Sav do with that particular situation, with all of the things that you've learned from, your mind factor?
Yeah, for me, I think now I would have just had conversations outside of golf and get myself out of the golf bubble instead of wondering when we're going to tee off and this and that. It's like, okay, we'll tee off when they tell me to tee off. And in the meantime, let's just chat and get outside of the golf bubble so that it's not over consuming in terms of trying to stay in this, the zone for an extra couple hours,
And that's one thing that happens in tournaments, the organizers do the best they can. They got to deal with the golf course. And there's always stuff that happens. Like I remember a tournament on the Canadian Tour. We were in Toronto, and this particular golf course, I'll always remember, Cherry Downs. The greens are 14 on the stimp. It took us 6 hours and 45 minutes to play. At one point, we get to hole number 2, which is a par 5 dog leg, and there's hay on both sides. Everybody's looking for their ball. And there's there's 4 groups on the tee box. So I sit down under a tree and I go for a nap. I wake up, the sun is moved, and the sun's beating down on me. And I look on the tee box and there's still a group ahead of me. And I'm just going, okay.
Yeah, it's like you almost want to like pack up your bags and go.
Well, that's it. It's time is passing you by, and so you get into certain situations like that, and you realize, okay, listen, I took the day off. And I drove out here, and I paid for my hotel room.
Yeah.
And I got to deal with this.
Yeah. That's the thing, right? It's like for you and I feel like we're similar in the way that when things don't make sense logically and common sense wise, it's really hard for us to accept those things.
I'm such a logical person.
Yeah.
And
So
that really bites me.
Yeah. That tournament where it was like the PAT, it was just, it was such a huge day that was known to the club. Like this was planned like very far in advance. Like there should have been no mix-ups, and there should have been no way that they were putting groups of members in between, like, and ruining the flow of the tournament.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just like,
You were looking for somebody to punish.
yeah, like to me in that moment, I was like, this doesn't make any logical sense. Like common sense went out the window for whoever decided that. And so I think it's also healthy to allow yourself to feel the emotions of frustration. Like give yourself like a time frame of, okay, let me feel this frustration. Let me get it out. And then we got to throw it out the window and move on.
That's a good point there, Sav.
Instead of
it's not
suppressing
okay,
it.
Don't get mad, don't get mad.
Yeah.
It's like,
No, you're allowed to feel mad.
it's like me telling my wife to say, hey, just relax.
She's right here in the room too. No, so I think it's important that you allow yourself to feel the frustration, whatever the feelings are, because we're human beings. It would be impossible not to, and you definitely don't want them to bottle up to a point where they kind of like overflow. Especially at the end of the round too, because you don't want to walk off the golf course after a round of golf and just feel icky. You know what I mean?
That's a good way to put it.
So
Yeah.
give yourself a time bubble, no more than like 30 seconds a minute. Let it go, and then keep moving forward because that's all you can do, right? Like, again, it's out of your control. You don't have any control over it.
Very good.
But hey, we're still a work in progress too. I'm saying these things, but it's also as much for me as it is for you guys and that's why I got into this field of work, is because I can relate so much having been an athlete for so long. It just, I want to be able to help other people with the same experiences because I know how bad it feels.
I got somebody here, Sav, that you are eventually going to help Duncan. So, we're really starting to button down his swing. We've been working together for a while now, and he says, made some progress this week as I've been practicing using my lead leg as leverage.
Is he ready?
He's a righty, yep. I've been experimenting with changing my task. I'm focused on my lead arm like I would do one-handed swings by using my legs to generate momentum. Feels kind of like a backhand swing in tennis, but left-handed, right? It would be the opposite of skipping the stone, which would be a right-hand task feel. More using my body to pull the lead arm through impact. And that I've done, because of my left-handed swing. That's a feel that you have in your swing because you're lead hand dominant.
Yeah.
Moo is kind of ambidextrous, so
Yeah.
I have to get myself wired to your brain to understand anything that goes on in there. So, but like you're a true ambidextrous person.
Yeah.
But you throw better from the left side.
Correct. Yeah.
Obviously, I mean you're number 43 in the world of long drive, and you've had your personal best at 414, and I've seen you carry the damn thing.
418 actually.
418. Sorry, 418.
Every yard count.
Every yard count. That's it.
Yeah.
And I've seen you freaking carry the ball 380, 390, and it's just a spectacular thing.
Thanks.
So, but you do play tennis right hand.
Correct. Yeah. It just comes off.
And how's your backhand?
Backhand's getting better. Before it was a little sticky because I wasn't used to,
He was doing one-handed backhands at first.
I felt more comfortable doing one-handed backhands, which some guys do, but it's a harder technique.
I told him to go to the two-handed backhand.
Because he's left-handed in golf.
Yes.
Yeah, the release was
That's
a little.
it.
Yeah,
I'm sure his two-hand backhand must be very powerful now.
Yes, it's a lot better, and it's actually like on the court kind of thing.
I know. It's like you must be ripping it.
Yeah.
So he says, the more my lead leg generates momentum, which is a ton, the more it feels like I'm not dragging the club enough through impact. It's whipping closed too quickly, even if my sequence and balance is spot on. So instinctively, I started playing around with more of a towing or dragging task with the same focus of using my legs. Very good, Duncan. So he has a little bit of a limitation in his right wrist, and he doesn't have a full second pendulum. But the guy hits it as far as I do, maybe even a little bit further. He's been known to, carry a 7-iron 190 to 210.
Oh, that's pretty.
Okay, so it's really solid. He's very athletic, very strong boy. So, but he feels like right now with the lead leg initiating, it's like Mo Norman talks about his left knee. He says it's all in the left knee. It's all in the left knee, and so at the top of the backswing, he feels like the left knee rotates towards the target. And that's what's going to happen basically. When you turn in the backswing, that lead knee rotates in behind the ball. And in order to go pressurize the lead foot, the lead knee has to swing open to apply that pressure. So there's a separation in the knees at the beginning of the downswing. And that's what Duncan is really experiencing firsthand right now. But because he feels the lead knee is doing that, he's now experimenting with lead hand. And I remember, in my left-handed swing, that's what it feels like. And when I take that from my left-handed swing and I apply it in my right-handed swing, I'm able to do it as well. It just feels strange because I'm not using my dominant hand. So there's the technical little, tidbit for the day. When you have enough backswing and generating some good momentum, then you want to be able to use that momentum to get all the way through the ball and into the direction that you want to start the ball. And so you got to, basically ask the mind or the brain, here comes momentum. We're going to let that momentum through. How do you propose we do that? Right? And then you're going to have some flavors thrown at you. And then you go, okay, well, when I'm trying to skip the stone, I release it too soon. But when I try to throw the frisbee with the lead arm, I'm able to get through much more easily. And so in my left-handed swing, I had to really make sure that I was completing the backswing. And when I did complete the backswing, whipping the frisbee through was a piece of cake. I'm always through the ball. And in my right-handed swing, I gather beautifully in the backswing because my dominant leg is my right leg, and I'm stomping the ground and I'm really moving into the backswing. But then the lead side gets a little sticky. And I find myself, if I'm not focused on getting all the way to that finish and feeling that lead leg doing what it needs to do to get me all the way to that finish, I'll tend to stall out. And so there it is.
So I had a question. So how did you told me today one of your students, Brody, was having a breakthrough with distance, and I'm sure he's kind of finding a connection with the kinetic chain.
Yes.
So how has he found his?
This is cool, right? So I'm between you guys. I'm just going to grab the microphone like this.
Sure.
So
get comfy.
So Brody took a 6-pound sledgehammer out, right, and started doing what I recommended he do. And then he realized with the sledgehammer, you gotta get the heck out of the way. You got no choice. And then he started understanding how the legs respond to the weight of the sledgehammer. And then as the sledgehammer is tracking the arc and the legs are gliding out of the way, he felt something really cool. So goes on his merry way, gets out on the golf course, and typically he's a 250 to 260 driver of the ball. He says, I've been driving the ball very accurately, and I'm very happy with that, but I feel like I'm underperforming when it comes to the driver.
He's a pretty big guy.
Yeah. He's a young whippersnapper, and he's got some good limbs, and he's taller than me. I think he's like 6'2", 6'3".
No, taller. Yeah, he's 6. I remember.
Right?
Yeah, I had a session with him last year, trying to help get him with speed. But like you said, there's some things that need to be technically sound to help him kind of fine tune the kinetic chain.
So he used that analogy and sensation on the first tee. And he caught a pretty good drive out there, 280, 290. And that, I got an extra 20 yards. And then he gets to hole number 4, which is his nemesis hole. It's a long par 4.
We all have that hole.
It's it's at his home club. It's like 480 or something like that. And he busts one out there, 320.
So it's brand new.
Jaw to the ground. He's normally well short of that fairway bunker, and he passes that fairway bunker, and he catches a feel and a glimpse. Right. And
a glimpse of hope.
That's it. And then he
hopes and dreams.
And he rode the feel all the way to the end of the round. He's on cloud 9. He says, and he's right away he calls me up. I want to get a session with you. He says, I need to know how to do that with the irons, right?
Yeah.
I'm going, well,
the same thing?
Yep. Okay, and I just needed that confirmation.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
spent a half an hour together, got the confirmation, and I was able to polish the sledgehammer with him. I said, "You got your sledgehammer?" He says, "Hang on, I'll go get it," right?
Yeah.
Flies to the garage, comes back a minute later, and we do the perpetual motion.
Yeah.
And I noticed that he's allowing the sledgehammer to fall a little bit behind him
Okay.
instead of tracking in front of him and supporting his swing. And he's always had a little bit of a flat backswing, remember?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And now that it's out more in front of him, he's able to use the legs better to turbocharge those tracking arms.
Way better leverage.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You
'Cause
know?
he's a tall dude. Like, he should be hitting it 350 any day.
That's it.
Right?
And so
That's probably why he gets so frustrated. He's like, "Listen, I am built for this, and
Yes.
it's not produced yet."
so he hits a couple of 7-irons.
Yeah.
He looks down and he goes, "Wait a second. 188." Whoa, right?
Yeah.
It's like 190-yard 7-iron. And his clubs are like, they're not the beefed up, low lofted irons.
Yeah, these are blades.
It's so he's playing with a forgiving players club,
Okay.
right? So the 7-iron is going to have like 32, 33 degrees of loft instead of 27,
Right.
right? And typically the PGA Tour loft on a 7-iron is about 34 degrees. So he lit up today.
That's
He
great.
lit up today. That was a lot of fun, and it's hats off to you, buddy. Good job.
Bo had a little breakthrough with Paul today, also. If you want to talk about
Yeah.
Yeah. So Paul's been one of the students that's been with Sean for a while on the golf side. So he wanted to acquire his strength back as his son is getting into golf. And we made a goal the last few months we've been working together to help him kind of regain the strength that he knows he has. So a lot of muscles were a little dormant. So we kind of got him back on track. So we had a routine for the last couple of months, and he got off track because of travel and work and everything like that. So
Well, I can tell you firsthand
yeah,
because he came up to Quebec City with his daughter, and they came for they spent the morning with me on one of the days. And then we went to lunch on the island there. We took him to our favorite Chez Mag,
Yeah.
which is a upper crust.
Casa de Croûte.
Casa Croûte, right?
It's called Casa
It's a hot dog stand,
Yeah.
but they make
But they have
unbelievable
lobster
burgers
on
and
this one.
lobster
They're
rolls.
known for their Gaspésie lobsters, so it's the fancy.
Yeah,
lobster.
basically for a family with it's going to cost you over $100 for a family of 4 to go to that
That's why we
hot dog
say
stand, right?
Casa de Croûte.
Casa de Croûte. So when he came, I was just floored at the compression
yeah,
that he was able to produce. Like, I tried his clubs and he's hitting it every bit as long as I am now.
yeah. I was very impressed with the time
Yeah.
it took him to kind of get to that point. Based off the stuff
Yeah.
you've been doing with him online.
No doubt it's because, in large part of the program that you put him on.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because it was like there's no I'm having self-doubt or imposter syndrome. I'm like, there's no way it worked that quickly in terms of getting him, but it's toned him up the right way, just help him feel his anatomy there, throughout the swing, and connecting what you teach too, right? Because every exercise in there is based off the philosophy you teach, and the understanding of the human anatomy is part of that design. And so today we got talking because he was pretty dejected that he got to that point with his swing and acquiring that distance, and also just feeling better overall about his understanding of the kinetic chain. But he felt mad at himself for feeling like he reached his goal, but then doesn't feel the need to continue. But I told him, like, once you achieve this, it's got to become part of your personality, like Atomic Habits say, right? It's like you got to be committed to it, and then moving forward, you never have any regrets about, should have continued with working out and maintaining.
Yeah, it's like a lifestyle at that point.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, my bit on that is I brought Sav to a certain spot, right? 102, 101, 102 miles an hour. And I'm thinking, that's amazing, right? She's awesome. And then, Moo is right there, and he's in his first couple of years, and he's doing okay. And once in a while, he'd pull one out, about the same distance as me.
Yeah.
And we're all rah-rahing,
It was nice. Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, something kicks in, like what just happened to
With Brody. Yeah.
Brody.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you're like 3 clubs longer than me, and I'm going, whoa, wait a second.
Yeah, you're pretty long.
Last time I checked, those were the long drive competitors.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
I'm no slouch. I can get it out there.
Yeah.
And then we say, okay, let's start training for that. And with your kinesiology background, and you start just pouring yourself into the internet, and you're seeing what Bryson's doing, you're seeing what Kyle's doing, you're seeing what all the boys are doing.
Right. Because there was research done
Right.
from prior competitors.
And then when we get out there in competition, you're seeing what the guys are doing out there, and then you're just soaking it in like this big freaking sponge.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, you're 4 clubs longer than me. And Sav is like out driving me half the time now, like by
Sorry.
sometimes 10 to 20 yards.
Yeah.
Like if I miss hit it slightly,
Right.
and I have a good miss at 280, and she tags one at 310. Well, WTF?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel stressed out sometimes too if I don't hit. my
Okay,
goal.
sure.
Sure.
No, but something that stands out about what Paul said is if we go back to Max. Max is so fun to be around because he always talks about how he doesn't have any limits on himself. He always
doesn't-
talks about no limits.
No imposition of limits.
And I think that's a really powerful statement because it allows you to keep evolving and to keep growing without the pressure of expectations or the pressure of reaching certain goals. It's just like, okay, well, let's just see what happens. Let's keep going. Let's keep pushing. Let's keep discovering.
And that's exactly what we're doing. I mean, I refuse to, when somebody says, you think I could hit it 20 yards longer? I'm going, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see how we can do it.
That's right.
And, it may not be this year, it may not be next year, but you don't know when that floodgate is going to, bust open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden because the brain is going to grab a little something here and a little something there. And then, what overnight success is like.
Yeah.
It's not an overnight success.
Yeah, it's a long-term success.
It's exactly.
Process, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have a process, and that's why it's so important for our students to enjoy every minute of the process. It can't
Yeah.
feel like work.
You have to immerse yourself into the process, not the outcomes, because you will never get to the outcomes if you're only focused on that and you're not actually taking the time to be present and to focus on what's right in front of you.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with scoring, right? It's like if you're expecting a certain score in a tournament and you're just trying to attain that the whole time, well, then you're probably not
It's
going to
like
do it.
it's like, look, 2 years ago you were at a certain spot.
Right.
Now you look at the quality of your strike and all that stuff, and now you're putting the expectations on yourself. Well, I should be shooting in the mid 70s now.
Yeah. Right.
Wait a second. There's a few more things that need to fall into place.
some
Yeah.
learning.
There's a lot of learning, a lot more lessons to
And you're
to learn.
allowed to do it, right? Like you have to allow yourself to just experience everything and make the mistakes. Like the power of making mistakes is huge because you're forever learning.
Yeah.
And the more that you make mistakes, the faster your learning process is going to be because you're discovering all of these new things all of the time.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to allow yourself.
And the other thing too is, think about when 1,000 years ago, you had an axe and you had to learn how to chop down a tree as a youth. Well, you went out and chopped trees down every freaking day for 8 hours a day or more, and you learned how to polish that skill pretty quickly. I learned how to play golf when I was a junior, and I didn't have a full-time job. And I was so absolutely out of my mind, bent on golf. Like I played every sport in the book. They all went away, like in a hurry. And golf had to be the one, right? And I had a junior membership, and I showed up at 6 a.m, put my bag in line, played a morning round with the old guys from Scotland who taught me all the rules. Then I went for lunch. went to the putting green and waited for my next round. Then I'd go out with a businessman in the afternoon or an athlete or whatever. And then I'd have a bite to eat after that. And then I'd go out for another 9 holes and then play my way back to the house at the 4th hole and walk home. And I'd be playing minimum 36 holes a day.
Yeah.
With a lot of putting and chipping and everything else in between. Well, you get good really fast on the golf course when you do that.
Yeah.
So, so for somebody who's learning how to play right now and they have a full-time job and they can only practice 2 to 3 times a week, well, we got to manage expectations on that.
Yeah.
But by the same token, it's our responsibility to get that person to really enjoy the process.
And the best part is, and I think a lot of people forget this, is you can play golf for a long, long time. So there's not really a rush in terms of reaching the goals that you're hoping to reach per se. Mm-hmm. And I think the more that you accept the fact that maybe it's not going to happen as fast as you hope it would, it might just happen faster than you expect that it would.
Yeah.
Because you're just allowing yourself to be and to go with the flow.
Allowing yourself to be.
Yeah.
That's it. Very
That's
cool.
all I have to say for today.
Very cool. Well, that was a really good podcast, you guys.
Yeah, that was good.
I really enjoyed that. So I hope you enjoyed the look.
Yep. Let us know what you think.
Wisdom in Golf podcast. Mm-hmm. And we're looking forward to having some of you as guests on the show. We'd love for you to send us an email, info@wisdomingolf.com. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know because we have a camera overhead here. We can show you grip.
Oh, I have a little sneak peek of Rip It Grips that I'll be showing you guys. The new launch that's coming in December.
All right. So all the new products that are coming out.
And I'll have a little discount code too for everybody.
We're going to have some really cool stuff to show you with Cobra this year. OMG, wait till you see. Yeah. It's amazing. And, I know right now that the product is being shown. I haven't gotten it yet, but
I don't know if we've gotten the okay yet to talk about it.
Okay, well then I don't want to have to go to your house and put a gag on you.
Okay, there, buddy.
All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your day and week, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Take care.